The history of European imperialism, exploring the rise and expansion of European empires from the 15th to the 20th century. European imperialism profoundly shaped the modern world, leaving a legacy that continues to influence contemporary geopolitics, cultures, and economies. From the 15th to the 20th century, European powers expanded their territories across the globe, driven by a combination of economic ambitions, political rivalries, and a desire for prestige. This video explores the key phases and motivations behind the rise and expansion of European empires, examining their impact on both the colonizers and the colonized. The Age of Exploration, 15th to 17th century. Early motivations and pioneers. The Age of Exploration, spanning the late 15th to the early 17th century, marked the beginning of European imperialism. The initial motivations were multifaceted: the search for new trade routes to Asia, the desire for precious metals and spices, and the spread of Christianity. Portugal, the pioneer. Portugal and Spain led the way, with navigators like Vasco da Gama and Christopher Columbus embarking on voyages that would open new horizons. Portugal, under Prince Henry the Navigator's patronage, became a trailblazer in maritime exploration. In 1488, Bartholomew Dias rounded the Cape of Good Hope, establishing a sea route to India. A decade later, Vasco da Gama's successful voyage to Calicut solidified Portugal's presence in the Indian Ocean, leading to the establishment of trading posts in Africa and Asia. Spain, the New World. Spain's ambitions took a different route from Columbus's 1492 voyage, which led to the discovery of the Americas. The Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494 divided the newly discovered lands between Portugal and Spain, granting Spain dominion over most of the Americas. Conquistadors like Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro conquered vast territories, including the Aztec and Inca empires, leading to the establishment of the Spanish Empire in the New World. The Dutch and the British, new contenders. By the early 17th century, other European nations began to challenge Portuguese and Spanish dominance. The Dutch, with their powerful naval fleet, established the Dutch East India Company in 1602, gaining control over spice trade routes in Southeast Asia. Similarly, the British East India Company, founded in 1600, laid the foundation for British imperialism in India. The Age of Colonization, 17th to 18th century. The Atlantic slave trade. The colonization era saw the rise of the Atlantic slave trade, a dark chapter in European imperialism. European powers, particularly Portugal, Spain, Britain, France, and the Netherlands, were deeply involved in the transatlantic slave trade, forcibly transporting millions of Africans to the Americas to work on plantations. This brutal practice had devastating consequences for African societies and left an enduring scar on history. The British Empire, ascendancy in North America and India. Britain emerged as a dominant imperial power during the 17th and 18th centuries. In North America, British colonies were established along the eastern seaboard, leading to conflicts with indigenous peoples and other European powers. The British also expanded their influence in the Caribbean, establishing profitable sugar plantations. In India, the British East India Company gradually expanded its control through a combination of military force and strategic alliances. The Battle of Plassey in 1757 marked a turning point, leading to British dominance in Bengal and paving the way for the establishment of British rule over the Indian subcontinent. French expansion. France also sought to expand its empire, establishing colonies in the Caribbean, North America, and India. The French and Indian War, 1754 to 1763, part of the larger Seven Years' War, was a pivotal conflict between Britain and France for dominance in North America. The war ended with the Treaty of Paris in 1763, which ceded most of France's North American territories to Britain, significantly altering the balance of power. The Age of Empire, 19th century. The Scramble for Africa. The 19th century saw a renewed wave of imperialism, with the focus shifting to Africa. The Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, convened by European powers, formalized the division of Africa, leading to the «Scramble for Africa», This period was marked by intense competition among European nations, including Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, and Italy, to claim African territories. The British Empire, the jewel in the crown. By the late 19th century, the British Empire was at its zenith, with colonies spanning every continent. India, often referred to as the jewel in the crown, was the most significant British possession, providing vast resources and serving as a market for British goods. The construction of the Suez Canal in 1869 further enhanced Britain's strategic position, facilitating quicker access to its Asian colonies. French and Belgian colonies. France, too, expanded its empire in Africa, establishing control over vast territories in West and Central Africa. Algeria, acquired in 1830, became a particularly important colony, with significant French settlement and economic exploitation. Belgium, under King Leopold II, established a brutal regime in the Congo Free State, exploiting the region's resources and subjecting its population to horrific abuses. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe to support this channel. Please share across social media platforms to reach a wider audience. Other European powers. Germany and Italy were relative newcomers to the imperial scene, but both sought to establish their presence in Africa. Germany acquired territories in present-day Namibia, Tanzania, and Cameroon, while Italy focused on Libya and the Horn of Africa. These latecomers were motivated by a desire for national prestige and economic opportunities. The decline of imperialism, 20th century. World wars and decolonization. The two world wars in the 20th century significantly weakened European imperial powers. The economic and human costs of these conflicts, combined with growing nationalist movements in the colonies, led to a gradual decline in imperialism. World War I, 1914 to 1918, strained European powers and exposed the vulnerabilities of their empires. The war's aftermath saw the redrawing of national boundaries and the loss of German and Ottoman territories, which were distributed among the victorious Allied powers under League of Nations mandates. World War II, 1939 to 1945, further accelerated the decline of European empires. The war devastated Europe's economies and infrastructure, diminishing their capacity to maintain overseas colonies. Simultaneously, colonial subjects, many of whom had fought in the war, demanded greater autonomy and independence. The winds of change, independence movements. Post-World War II, the decolonization process gained momentum. India, under the leadership of figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, achieved independence from Britain in 1947. The partition of India and Pakistan, however, was marred by violence and displacement. In Africa, nationalist movements led by leaders such as Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana and Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya pressured colonial powers to grant independence. Ghana became the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence in 1957, followed by a wave of decolonization across the continent in the 1960s. The fall of empires. The process of decolonization continued through the mid-20th century. France faced a protracted and bloody conflict in Algeria, which eventually gained independence in 1962. The Portuguese Empire, which had stubbornly clung to its colonies, collapsed in the 1970s following the Carnation Revolution, leading to the independence of Angola, Mozambique, and other territories. Belgium too relinquished control of the Congo in 1960, though the transition was chaotic and marked by violence. The British Empire, which had been the largest and most far-reaching, gradually dismantled its colonial holdings, culminating in the return of Hong Kong to China in 1997. Impact and legacy. Economic consequences. The economic impact of European imperialism was profound and varied. Colonies were often exploited for their natural resources, with little regard for sustainable development. The introduction of cash crops and monoculture disrupted traditional agricultural practices, leading to food insecurity in many regions. However, European imperialism also facilitated the development of infrastructure, including railways, ports, and telegraph systems, which had long-term economic benefits. Cultural exchange and conflict. European imperialism led to significant cultural exchanges, though often imposed through coercion. The spread of European languages, education systems, and religious practices reshaped societies in the colonies. However, this cultural imposition often came at the expense of indigenous traditions and identities, leading to cultural erosion and conflict. Political changes. The political landscape of the world was dramatically altered by European imperialism. The arbitrary borders drawn by colonial powers often disregarded ethnic and cultural boundaries, leading to enduring conflicts in post-colonial states. The legacy of European legal and administrative systems, however, provided a framework for governance in many newly independent nations. The human cost of European imperialism was immense. Indigenous populations were decimated by diseases brought by Europeans, forced labor, and violent repression. The Atlantic slave trade resulted in the suffering and deaths of millions of Africans. Colonial wars and uprisings led to further loss of life and trauma. Post-colonial legacy. The post-colonial period has been marked by efforts to address the legacies of imperialism. Former colonies have sought to reclaim their cultural heritage and assert political and economic independence. However, the effects of colonialism continue to pose challenges, including economic dependency, political instability, and social inequalities. The history of European imperialism from the 15th to the 20th century is a complex and multifaceted narrative of exploration, conquest, exploitation, and resistance. While European empires brought about significant economic and cultural changes, they also inflicted profound suffering and disruption on the colonized. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe to our channel for more self-improvement videos. Comment below to tell us how useful you found this video. Remember to share on various social media platforms to reach a wider audience. Click the notification bell to get notified anytime we post a new video. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.